Good afternoon, and thank you for joining today's webinar looking at a new model for consuming encryption and key management. My name is Shona Bradshaw. I'm the Marketing Manager at Bytes Security Partnerships. I'm delighted to be joined today by Manoj Bhatti, who's one of the Senior Product Specialists at Gemalto, who'll be taking you through how encryption has changed and the ways in which you can look to invest in encryption in different and more flexible ways. So just to set a brief overview of today's session. So I'll give a very brief introduction to Bytes. Many of you do know us already, so I will keep that exceptionally brief. I'll talk a little bit around the growing demand for simplicity and control in security, the rise of cloud and how that's delivered and a demand for new ways of looking at how we consume security. I'll introduce Manoj, who'll be taking you through some of the key cloud encryption and encryption challenges and how data protection and demand can drive different ways of working and a new way of protecting data in a manner that's flexible, reducing time, cost, and the way and the ability to scale up your demand and encryption as and when you need it. And lastly, we'll have an interactive Q&A at the end. So a little bit of housekeeping for today's session. Attendee lines will be on mute throughout today's presentation. However, as I've mentioned, we do have a Q&A at the end. So please do post questions as they occur to you via the chat or the questions box, and I will pop on at the end to pose your questions to our subject matter expert, Manoj. For today, we'll be looking at sort of strategic discussions, keeping things fairly theoretical, not getting into any real in-depth commercials on this session. Of course, those conversations are more than welcome with your Bytes account manager post-session. We are recording today's session, so the session will be made available for you and your teams after the event. And lastly, a bit of a request from me. We do have a feedback survey at the end. It just enables us to understand how these sessions are hitting the mark for you technically and strategically. So please do take a second at the end of today's session to fill that in. So over to a bit of an overview of Bytes. So we are the security specialist reseller within the Bytes Allied Electronics Group. We've been focusing solely on security for over 16 years. Really what we aim to do is to marry up the agility, the insight and the personal approach you would expect from the smallest specialist supplier with the scale and the resources of other large groups so that we can cope with demand. As part of that, we do enjoy top-tier vendor statuses due to the investment that we've made in accreditations, in engineering and in in-house consultancy. That allows us to deliver for customers not just commercial value, but also confidence in the technical delivery around the solutions that we do work with and recommend. We work right across the whole spectrum of information security, from your classic next generation firewalling through content security, data security, which is the purpose of today's session, looking through cloud security, mobile security, your breach and vulnerability management, etc. So we have a wealth of expertise and knowledge and technology partnerships across the whole spectrum of the security landscape. Across all of these, what we aim to deliver for customers is that technical expertise and the real knowledge and insight behind the technologies that we recommend and we speak to them about. That can range from training and knowledge transfer services, technology delivery, installation, maintenance, whether it's strategy development, technology mapping, project scoping, etc. So we really aim to provide you with almost like an IT team that doesn't sit in your office to make sure that technologies and security do deliver to the business objectives that you set for them. So that's enough about us. What are we talking to customers about today? Why are we talking about this new concept, the Netflix style encryption on demand or data protection on demand? And historically, it's worth saying that there is in the marketplace an increased acceptance that data protection and encryption is massively important, particularly with the advent of the dreaded four-letter word in 2 weeks GDPR. Increasingly businesses are being mandated. They have to put strong data protection processes, policies, and technologies in place in order to make sure their customer, their internal, and their own assets and resources are protected. At the same time, our customer expectations in businesses with the advent of cloud technology are expecting increased simplicity from the solutions that they procure from us. They are looking for ways to quickly and easily scale up and down solutions, to start by protecting what they know, to be able to grow, to be able to change whether it's encryption or firewalling, etc., change what they are purchasing on a almost on-demand basis to ensure that they're only paying for what they're consuming. And that's really what Manoj is going to be taking you through today. So how can encryption, which has traditionally been seen as a very complex, difficult to deploy area of security, how can that be simplified in order to take advantage of the cloud? And how can it be you take advantage of the expectation, how can we meet the expectation of on demand and ensure that it's easy to consume, to reduce those barriers to deployment, and to ensure that it's really delivering strong return on investment for businesses. So with that in mind, all that it remains for me today is to introduce Manoj. He's been working with us for several years in his role at Gemalto. Gemalto has been a Gold Bytes partner for over 5 years, and they really are the global leader and pioneer in encryption, in flexible encryption and key management, being Gartner leader for some years. And they're really specialists in flexible encryption, data protection and access management. So I'm not just going to be talking you through, giving you a bit of a flavour for how the market is moving to support you in achieving flexibility in encryption, so you can have the data protection that your business needs with the flexibility and the cost efficiency that you would expect and that you would hope for in today's market. So I'm going to hand over to Manoj, and I'll pop back on the end to pose your questions to him. Thank you. Manoj, over to you.
Thanks so much, Rana. I hope you guys can see my screen.
John, yeah, you're absolutely fine. You're on the line, yes.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Manoj Bhatti. I'm the pre-sales consultant for Gemalto for all the SafeNet products. Today, I'll take you through the journey of data protection on demand. Anyone who doesn't know who we are, Shauna briefly covered. However, we are a 3.4 billion revenue company. We have more than 14,000 employees in 117 countries. Gemalto is a huge manufacturer of SIM cards. So, we always say we make the world's 40% SIM cards. So 2 billion of the world's 5 billion SIM cards that are being produced are produced by Gemalto. So that's a brief introduction of what Gemalto do. Today we are discussing about data protection on demand. Again, for the individuals who do not know what we do, we have a huge number of products which are, across three major different, if you can say, pillars, which are the encryption, the key management, and the identity and access management. So we have our own solution that helps you in encryption of the data at various different levels and layers. However, barring one single product, which is SafeNet Authentication as a Service, all the products are being considered as the on-premise product. So we always were the on-premise company. We were always the company who would give you the boxes, the tin, the hardware that you have to, take inside and put it into a rack and start working on them. This is except the SafeNet Authentication as a Service. However, with the data protection on demand, with SafeNet Authentication as a Service, there was a lot of traction in the market. A lot of organizations were asking a better, the easier way of doing encryption on demand, something where they do not have to invest on the box. And this is exactly where the data protection on demand comes into picture. So what exactly is data protection on demand? I can tell you what exactly it is, and you can also perceive from the slides that I present. If you look at it, it's just a marketplace. You would be able to log on to a console screen, and you'd be able to see all different tiles, if you can say that. These are the different services that we provide. So the when it comes to the data protection, it's always been considered a very niche skill to have within the organization. So there are very few set of people who can actually work on HSMs, the key managers, and all the other cryptographic services around it. However, the biggest challenge was, how do you install the whole thing even before starting on working on it on the encryption side of it, the whole installation. This is something that we actually took away in data protection on demand. So what you see on the tiles at the back end of it, you can simply think of the key management or the HSMs sitting, and these are the services which are being provided. So you can choose any services that you want. At the present moment, there are a lot of services. However, the pace with which we are working, the roadmaps that we have, you may see over 1,000 services, similar services, and they are purely the services which are being which already support HSM. So there are a huge number of services that are being that uses the HSMs or the key management technologies. Things like the TDE, the doc signing, the key vaults, the MS SQL encryption, CyberArk, the encryption of CyberArk and storing the keys. All these solutions, they already are integrated with HSM or HSMs. However, it doesn't require a physical HSMs to be present in your own data center. This is why you have data protection on demand. So you can simply choose a service. It will take care of all the other needs of where you had to get HSM, install the HSM, set it up before you can even come here. Once you come in this page, you can simply select what kind of service that you want, how many of them that you want, and it's a monthly payment, pay as you go model. So you can simply enable or disable services if you're not using it. You can simply think of if you're near Christmas, if you're near the Thanksgiving, you can increase the number of services just because you may be catering to more number of instances for the service that you're providing. And as soon as it's over, you can simply shut down all the services that you're not using. So it's pay as you go model. What does it do? I partially covered it. However, you can think of any single use case that you want, that you can think of. It's a HSM on cloud. It's a key manager in the cloud. So you can protect anything in your data centers, in the cloud applications, your virtual environment, even at your network. You can protect anything that requires the HSM technology or the key management capabilities. And you can simply point it to the DPOD, the data protection on demand, and you'll be able to manage your keys very, very securely. Put all the encryption policies centrally. However, the keys will never be exposed to the outside world, and your encryption will happen at the endpoint any which ways. This exactly what we always talked about. We always talked about decoupling of the key and the data. Anyone who has access to the data must not have access to the key. Anyone who has access to the key must not have access to the data. So this is on the same principles where you can choose any service provider that you want. You're not bound to use the securest service provider. You should, but you're not bound to using this service. You can choose any of the local service providers if you want. You can use your own private cloud, and you can have the HSM and the key management services from the cloud. So you're essentially separating the roles. Someone who's your security administrator, someone who's your database administrator is not your security administrator. Anyone who's your security administrator is not your database administrator. And they have absolutely no control on over the keys, so they cannot see the keys. When I say see the keys, the actual real value of the keys. They cannot import the keys. They cannot export the keys unless they have the sufficient privileges. And even when they export it, they're already wrapped in There's a lot of logical security built around this. So at all point of time, your keys are always secure. And this is being presented through tiles. So you can choose, for example, you can simply choose the Oracle TDE as one tile. And by the way, if you have this question, maybe for me later, I can cover this at the moment. All these tiles at the present moment, they're equally priced. So one tile doesn't cost more than the other one. They're at the present moment, they're equally priced. So what is there for the service providers or the people who want to use it? So this is a true service provider model that we are providing as well. So there are a lot of things for the service provider. So service provider can start to present this service to their customers, completely white label it, and they can provide it as data protection on demand, for example, by Bytes. So they can, if Byte wants, they can simply white label the entire service and then start selling it to you guys. Or if you want, you can simply say the data service on demand by HCL or TCS or Accenture or CGI or anyone, and they can start selling it as their own data protection on demand. And by the way, in the whole journey, they're not actually they're not buying the hardware. They're purely buying the service. They're purely buying a page, white labeling it, and selling it as their own. So it's a zero upfront investment. It's a cloud-based pricing, absolutely multi-tenant capabilities. We have the API support for the third party as well. So we support all set of APIs, PKCS 11, JCA, JCE, Microsoft, and we are very soon we will be announcing the KMIP capability support as well. So you'll be able to see more and more tiles, more and more integrations coming out. And as I mentioned, the white labeled version, and also the centralized management of all your keys at a single location. And that is literally, and one click is a little bit of exaggeration, but a couple of clicks away, you can simply, so at the present moment, Shauna can tell you more about this, but at the present moment, we are running a free evaluation for 30 days. So if you want, we can give you a free evaluation license that will last for 30 days. So you can take a look at, have a look and feel of it, play around with all different options that we have, and see how does it all works, and how each of these tiles that we are creating works for you guys. Now, as I mentioned, the whole thing is available on demand. So I also mentioned the key management and everything. All the other things are available on demand as well. So when it comes to key management, it gives you a huge. So we have distributed the capabilities depending upon each service that you buy. So there is a maximum number of keys that you can store on those services. There's a maximum number of operations that you can perform per second on those services. If you want to increase, you can simply pay more, increase. But for the basic operations, most of the tiles that you see, we haven't seen many customers who wants to increase the number of operations per tile, or per tile. When I say tile, I mean service. So centralized management of all the keys happens inside this platform. So when you're generating the keys, they have been actually being generated and stored in the DPOD platform. Let's take an example of CyberArk. So you're using CyberArk, and then all the information that you're storing in CyberArk should be encrypted by a master key. It is encrypted by a master key. However, the master key is normally being stored within the CyberArk itself. So someone can simply, by few clicks, they can export the key into a PFX form, and now they have the key and they can have the data as well. So with the use of this service, you can simply integrate it with our DPOD platform, and you can make sure that the CyberArk is still doing what it was doing yesterday. However, the key with which the entire database or the entire CyberArk information has been encrypted is stored in the DPOD platform, and every time CyberArk boots, it reaches out to the DPOD platform, fetches the key, and unlock itself. So it's only required at the time of reboot of CyberArk the connection is only required at that point of time. However, it gives you that peace of mind where you know that the key that you're using to encrypt CyberArk is not under anyone else's control. A root of trust, we can share more information about this, but the HSM is always, or the HSM or the hardware security modules are always looked at as the root of trust. So you can use this to create your PKI environments. So if you're trying to run a PKI internal or external PKI environment, you can have the Microsoft CA or any other CA running in your own environment, and you can have the actual private key stored in the DPOD platform. As I mentioned, APIs are already there. There are a lot of management and reporting capabilities that we provide. So these management and reporting capabilities are for the tiles. So each tile that you own, we provide you a lot of logs, a lot of reporting for each of these tiles. The operations are very restricted, so you cannot perform a huge number of operations any which ways. Using this, you can perform encryption or protection of the data anywhere that you want. So you can provide the encryption, the transaction signing capabilities in your application. You can provide the transaction encryption capabilities in your application. You can encrypt personal data, big data, things like Hadoop, MariaDB. If I'm not wrong, Maria supports KMIP. I may be wrong, but Cassandra, MySQL from a certain version, all they are starting to support KMIP capabilities. So you can, we will be offering the KMIP capabilities very soon. So eventually you'll be able to use the same platform to provide provide encryption to all the different databases, or even, for example, storages. So things like the Nutanix storage, the Dell EMC, NetApp, Dell Compellent, self-encrypting drive, NetApp, NSEs, and all these different technologies that support KMIP. You should be able to simply point towards the DPOD platform and store all your keys at a central location. And then the IoT, I'm pretty sure it's a lot of interest for a lot of organizations which are majorly in manufacturing. However, it requires a huge number of keys to be generated really, really fast, and a huge number of keys to be stored in a location. So, which is better than using our capabilities of storing the keys really, really fast and generating keys really, really fast and storing them at single location as well. So, for the root of trust, as I said, we'll discuss it more. The use cases around the use of trust is pretty simple. Anything where you can think of using HSM solution or the hardware security modules, so things like document signing, the key vault. Key vault could be for anything. You are just using a key and storing the key in a secure location. Code signing. Anyone who's in manufacturing or creation of their own application, they know how important the code signing is. Microsoft CA key protection, that is not only related to the Microsoft CA, I would simply say the PKI key protection as well, digital signing. If you're using any of the technologies that require you to digitally sign a transaction or a document, you can use DPOD services. SQL TDE database, Oracle TDE database. So Oracle and SQL have the capabilities of providing you the transparent data encryption. However, the capabilities that Oracle and SQL gives you from the key management perspectives are very basic. They store the keys exactly in the same server. So if you want to avoid the storing the keys within the same server, you can use the DPOD technology, store the keys in the DPOD platform in a highly secure location, and then encrypt everything that you're storing into the databases. And database only make communication to the DPOD platform whenever they are started, they're mounted, and else they don't communicate with them. The PKI private key protection, as I mentioned, the Microsoft CA key protection is the same. And Microsoft RMS, this is one of the use cases which has become really popular after Azure and Microsoft started to provide the RMS services. So we have this integration through which you can actually store the encryption key of RMS into the key secure device, or the DPOD devices, and not storing it on the Microsoft or your own platform. So how does it all looks like in terms of the architecture? So you can see on the left hand side, there's a tenant or the virtual HSM owner. There's a crypto app. There's a service broker, the load balancer at our side. And then finally, there is a set of HSM. So this is from a very high level. This is architecture where you shouldn't be worried about any of the things which is on the right hand side. So you are the one who only, as an organization, you are the tenant, and you should be only dealing with the crypto apps. The maximum things that you have to manage is the application credentials. Apart from them, everything else that you see on the right hand side from the application credentials is being managed and stored by Gemalto. Anyone who's interested in knowing, we have already applied for the FIPS certificate for our DPOD platform. I have no date that I can share with you when we will be getting it. However, it is we have already filed for it. We are already going through the FIPS certification process. So very soon in the future, you'll see the entire DPOD data center is being certified as a FIPS certified data center itself. So that's data protection on demand for you guys. I am open to any questions that you might want to ask me. Shauna?
Okay, yes, sorry, I was just unmuting myself, apologies. So thank you very much for giving us an overview of that. So if you would like to ask any questions to Manoj regarding the concept of DPOD or data protection on demand, any of the products it might integrate with, or anything at all regarding consumption of development and encryption and key management, please do take a minute or so to pop them into the questions box, and I will happily pose them to Manoj. Otherwise, I will just take a moment to thank everyone for their time in attending this afternoon. It is really appreciated that you take time out of your busy schedule to attend updates such as these, so thank you very much. And also thank Manoj as well for giving us such a concise and useful introduction into the subject matter as well. So I haven't got any questions at the moment, so I'm just going to wrap up now. Thank everyone for taking the time to attend. If questions are of a more commercial nature and you wish to pose those to your account manager, or even email me them after the session, and we can discuss or address those one-to-one, absolutely happy to do so. As I said, today's session has been recorded, so we will distribute that to yourself via link after the session, so that you can review that at your leisure and take time to have a look at it. And thanks everyone for attending this afternoon, and good afternoon. Many thanks.